So our very first lesson here, 1-1 for Algebra 1, variables and expressions. We're going to start with, can I write algebraic expressions? That's our essential question for the day. And a lot of vocab to start off. So I'm going to go ahead and type this in. The first vocabulary word we want to look at here is, what is a mathematical quantity? And we know that that is anything that can be measured or counted. So anything that can be measured or counted is a mathematical quantity. And we want to also then look at our definition here of what is a variable. You're going to use hear the word variable, and we're going to work with variables a lot in math. And it is a symbol, usually a letter, that represents an unknown value. So it is a symbol, usually a letter, that represents an unknown value. Let's go ahead and talk about an expression, one of a super important word for us to understand the definition of. And an expression is different than an equation because an expression has no equal sign. No equal sign here. And whenever we have expressions, we use the terms that we are going to simplify or evaluate. So when we have an expression, we'll use words like to simplify or to evaluate. Again, lots of vocab that we're covering. So what is a numerical expression? Well, it's just numbers and math symbols. So we have, first of all, it's an expression. So we know that there is no equal sign because of the word expression there. And because it's numerical meaning numbers, we're going to have no letters either. So we are just having, if we have a numerical expression, we will just have numbers and symbols. So an example of that might be if I said 2 squared plus 4 times 3. That would be an example of a numerical expression. And let's go ahead and look at an algebraic expression. So with an algebraic expression, we do have numbers, math symbols, and it will include one or more letters. And remember, those letters mean that it is an unknown value with no equal sign again, because it is an expression. So, numbers, math symbols. I'm going to delete this one if I can figure out how to delete it here. There we go. So numbers, math symbols, and include one or more letters, no equal sign for an algebraic expression. So an example of an algebraic expression might be 2x plus 5. We have a variable there. 2 times x plus 5. That would be an example of an algebraic expression. I'm going to go ahead and write that one down. So 2x plus 5. You have a letter involved. Now you're going to see my chart here at the bottom where I have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And this is a great time for you to, and we'll discuss it in class, write down words that mean add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So besides the word addition, what other words can you think of that could mean addition? Because those words are going to be super important. Let's go ahead and move on. That's kind of your little assignment here, is to write down words. And I'm going to move on with our notes, and we'll discuss those in class. So when we look at our notes here, we're going to have 3 different ways to represent these expressions. We could have the word phrase, okay? We can have a model, like draw it out, and then we actually have the expression itself. So I'm going to start with the word phrase here. And if I said 32 more than I'm going to use a symbol to represent numbers. More than a number, and let's say n. So if I look at that word phrase, now that we have that word phrase, let's talk about what would that expression look like. 32 more than a number n. Well, hopefully you know that we're going to start with the 32. And when we talk about, my stylus is having a hard time here. When we talk about the word more than, we know we mean add. So it is going to mean addition. So more than is a word that we could add to that chart that means addition, and the letter n. So 32 plus n is what that means. And if we want to look at our model, kind of think of, we would have n, our unknown value, we don't know what it is, plus 32, and that would give us our total. So we would be looking for total here. So that is an example of the word phrase, the model, and the expression. Let's look at another one. And this next one is 58 less a number n. 58 less a number n. And when we look at this one, and we talk about what the word phrase, what the model looks like and what the expression looks like, we have to be really careful with this word, less a number. Less meaning smaller. So we know this is going to be subtraction. And this is going to be 58 less, meaning subtract, a number n. So we're going to have a total of 58. We are going to take away n, and then we will get our other unknown value. So 58 less n, and we'll find that missing piece. So the total is 58 here. The total is 58. Take away n, and we have our other missing value. So I have a question for you. What do you think, and this is going to be a test question. So what do we think, what would the word phrase be for n minus 58? What do you think that word phrase would be for n minus 58? And I will tell you that whenever we put a star next to our problems? That is a test question or a very important question. What would be the word phrase for n minus 58? Well, I'm going to type this one out or write this one out. This one's tricky. We're going to add one extra word. 58 less than. So that word than, 58 less than a number n would be the word phrase for this one. And we have to be very careful because we know that they're not the same thing. We know that 58 take away n and n take away 58 do not mean the same thing. We do not get the same answer if we try to put a number in for n. So we have to be really careful on when we have just less a number versus when we have less than a number. Those can be tricky. So then we can have expressions with two variables, or two operations. We can have expressions with two operations. And if we look at those, so expressions with two operations. And we have to be careful with these as well. So if I look at an expression with two operations, I might say 3 more than twice a number x. 3, I'm going to type it out. I don't like that writing because it just looks sloppy. So 3 more than twice a number x. So what this one would look like, let's talk this one through. 3 more than, we know means 3 and addition. So we're going to add 3 to twice a number x. Twice a number means 2 times x. And we have two operations there. We have addition and we have multiplication. One problem that gets a little tricky, I'm going to write out the word phrase and I want to see if you can come up with the actual expression. So here's my word phrase. The product of 4 and the sum of a number x and 7. We got a couple things here. The product of 4 and the sum of a number x and 7. Well, product meaning the answer to a multiplication problem. But when you have the sum of a number x and 7, also meaning the answer to an addition problem. And so here, they are actually asking for us to put in a set of brackets. The sum of a number x and 7, right there is where we want our brackets. Because we want to know what that sum is and then multiply it. We have to use the correct order of operations here. So this example, and these are two different examples, this example would be 4 times, with parentheses, because product means multiplication, x plus 7. If we don't put the brackets in, if we don't put our parentheses in, we would not get the same answer. This is a test question, or one that you can find on a test, and so that's why I'm going to put a star next to it as well. So the product of 4 and the sum of a number x and 7. And I'm going to tell you, this is one of my least favorite lessons. Got a lot of vocab here. Practice writing them out. And we'll practice more in class. That's it.